what happens here now?
Let me speak on behalf of the users, of the graduates of all these institutions. There's a lot of well-meaning work being done at policy level and with media cancer. But for me, the issue is the execution, what's happening on the ground. Let me go back to what my friend Honorable Sabina said about the situation is a bomb about to explode. It actually exploded quite a while back. This is why, if you look at, say, private sector, when they recruit, they're spending so much money retraining these people. Organizations are even starting mentoring and coaching programs. They're having their department, their in-house departments in training is getting bigger and bigger, which means cost of running business is getting higher and higher without equitable returns. So now employers have become the teachers. So are you employing people to teach them what they should have learned, or are you bringing them in to generate revenue for you?
Because
so
even them, they retrain people.
Yes, the explosion has happened. We're in a crisis. Now, employers, when they're recruiting, especially big numbers of people, they even engage in forensic experts to screen the certificates. Somebody to sit on the phone and call all these colleges and say, is it true this person completed this? Is this certificate genuine? So employers have become CIDs. When will they ever do the work they are supposed to? Employers.
But where do you drop the ball, Njoki?
Yeah.
Where do you drop the ball?
To me, this is what I felt.
Because we have both policy and.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's not work from just the policy, what they think it should be done. Let's first involve the people who are using the products from these organizations. Let them have a great deal of input in what it should be and the rollout, practically rollout on it. If you ask me right now, there should be two strategies. Yes, the policies are great. Yes, the regulations from Media Council are great. But what do we do in the meantime? We need surgery. We need people to get in there and investigate. We need to do something that's out of the box. Get young people who are investigators. Let them enroll in these universities.
Okay, and try and find out.
Investigate from within. Then Dennis is will be a little bit safer, because I'm still trying to understand how is throwing a stone through the nation windows solve education issues. Isn't that a reflection still of the bigger problem we have? Because that broken window worries me. Yeah.
All right.
Not to mention the bushes, the trees, the beautiful Nairobi, green
Nairobi
now was all trees on the
He mentioned about this is a reflection of the kind of society we have.
Yes.
Starting from us who are in leadership, going to the teachers who are also, you know, they are the ones who have entrusted with our children, going to us as the parents. We've seen even in the cases when there's a problem in school, instead of the parent addressing it through the necessary channels, they go and chase away the teacher. And, you know, it was very sad that at one point when I was watching news with my niece, who is a very young daughter, a small girl, when there was this Mapambano thing in Parliament, and then the following day she was escorting me and she was singing Mapambano. And I asked her, you also know what Mapambano is? It was very sad. This is the kind of society we are bringing up, and it's a reality. We need to wake up. From the leadership to everybody else. The Kenya Qualification Authority framework, or the authority that is coming, the bill that we did, the employer is also part of it. So we are bringing everybody together, and so everybody will be there, and we are able to say, if we are in the field of aviation, this is what we require for the qualification. And then everybody is going to be there. And then the employers also are going to bring up their complaints that this is what the kind of students we are getting from the colleges. But we saw it earlier. It was in the Kimathi University. We know the engineers board has refused to register some of the students. Some of the teachers have been trained, and by the time a student goes from the first year to the fourth year, and then they were not told that if you didn't get a C+, you cannot become a graduate teacher, then just for you to graduate and then you cannot be employed by TSC, then shows there's a problem somewhere. That's why I said, I think we need to start with the Ministry of Education to be very specific.
All right. Yeah. The same ministry that doesn't want to answer questions, you know.
There's also another angle of, I call it social responsibility. And this includes the parents, the sponsors, and anybody else who knows what the kids are going through school. During my time, and Sabine, I'm sure you remember this, we didn't have a lot of these missing marks lecturer didn't mark the papers. But these days, as we're interviewing the kids, they say, you know, I have to repeat a whole year because my marks went missing, you know. My worry is, when the parent is told that, what do? Are they making the necessary noises to the relevant institutions on this? So probably the parents also, the sponsors, the whatever, the guardians, we are not making enough noises.
Okay. Mercy, technicality, let me just go to aviation. To me, aviation is sort of medicine. You can link them. Aviation and medicine is technical, it's people's lives. You're dealing with here each and every day. As someone sitting there and mentoring the kids, where do you drop your ball? Who do you blame for the things that go wrong?
Like you said, there's the issue about the parents as well. They're the policy makers, and the system itself, in that the policy makers should be able to put something in place. For instance, the biggest frustrating factor is, as much as the parents would want to make the noise, and we blame them for not making the noise, who do they make the noise to? Most of the people who've come in and students who've dropped out, I'm happy this is happening because at least their frustrations are being aired, and we have people like Mheshimiwa here who are listening. You are an individual, you do not have, you know, the strength, and they go out there and, I mean, they just fizzle out. So there is the society, there is the policy, all in all. Let
me take this to Alex. Alex, what kind of recourse do you think you will find? Do you think your administration will take this up?
Pardon?
What kind of solution are you looking into here as a student from that school?
Yeah, I'm glad. I was taking a catering hotel management student, and in fact that's what I'm taking. That's what I'm taking.
But I'm asking, what are you going to do as students? Because you said you went somewhere and sat as students. What are you going to do? Are you going to hold your management accountable for this?
Okay, for now, I'm not yet decided on what to do. That is, unless we meet with other students, we talk, in fact we discuss about the same. That is when we actually decide on what to do, because we don't know how to do it, in fact, right now.
Okay.
We don't know how to do.
Okay. Clearly a dejected student, and there's someone who keeps on calling you calling you Alex when you're on air. So let me throw it to Njoki. How different, ladies and gentlemen, how different do you think this can now be done, starting with Njoki?
There's no panel beating of the crisis that we are in as a nation. We've always prided ourselves, Kenya being one of the most learned, educated, well-speaking nation in Africa. I think we are slowly and gradually losing that. However, I know worldwide education status, the quality of education, everybody complains that it's taking a downward trend. However, I feel what we need to do is to take two strategies. There is a policy making to make sure the future is streamlined, but there is also bringing things up to par at the moment. We need to take like a project, maybe done by the top people in the government, take a project where schools are screened, there are criteria that they must fulfill, drastic actions are taken, colleges are closed if necessary, students and parents are taken care of in terms of what happens to the money they have paid. Yeah, but at the same time, do remember, even when we're feeling sorry for the student and the parent, there's also the question of what due diligence have you done on that institution?
As a parent and as a student.
As a parent and as a student. So you can't sit there and wait for things to happen to you. If you sit there for them to happen, then the negative things will happen. I feel there's an urgent need to also review the curriculum, revise the curriculum. That's a big, big issue. I think we need to move into being more practical, that it's no longer just theory and passing papers. personality assessments. I do psychometrics assessment. And I've got a very good database of a comparison of the people who went through the old education system and of today, management trainees, graduate trainees. The graduate trainee, the graduate of today who makes it through the system tends to be the one who is very good at studying volume of work and reproducing it in the exams.
All right.
That does not mean it's practical. The older one tends to apply the principles in doing different things. Is one better than the other? I don't know. But practically, employers today are looking for people who will hit the ground running.
Exactly. And Mheshimiwa, do you think commercialization of the colleges, too many satellite colleges springing all around, and of course this you have to remember in context of the number of schools and the number of graduates from high school that we are churning year in, year out to get more than 10,000 probably without getting where to go after school?
Well, I guess now we have many universities because they're over 30. And what I feel is that there's unfriendly competition. Mainly what happens is after all this university, every university is offering everything. And I think what we need to do first is specialize. If we have Nairobi University, we need to know what they specialize in. Kenyatta University, the same. What we have done now is that they are competing. And so everybody wants to offer everything. And so the lecturers are jumping from one university, they drive to the other one, they drive to the other one, they lose their scripts somewhere in the middle, or somebody is not even paid, so you tell them, because you didn't pay me on this one, I'm not going to give the script, and so the students are the ones who are suffering. And that's what I'm saying. We need to specialize. And I think for now, we don't need to add more universities. We first need to streamline what we have. Secondly, I think the youth service that used to be done before after Form 4.
Form 4, you need to go there.
Need to come back.
Okay.
But career training also needs to, so that they're exposed to what they expect in colleges. Okay. So once you go to this youth training, apart from the combat and whatever they were training, I didn't go through it. But I think it was very important and made people responsible.
More responsible.
Responsible citizens.
During this stone throwing, I have to admit this, when I graduated from the School of Law in Moi, we had only Moi and the Nairobi University and Moi University. Right now, every college offering that course. So it's again accreditation, but it's again a question of how many are offering what. Let me skip Mercy and go to Victor.
What is the responsibility, other than oversight and the rest? Who takes this responsibility when it comes to law? For example, what happens now in the absence of the Minister of Education or whoever to answer such? I mean, where does the buck stop? Because one of the things that happens in our country is that we Skype around and start running away, and nobody wants to hold. Because like one of the things I'm mentioning, once 10 out of 8 colleges can bring their registration documents, which means that 8 of them
are questionable.
Yes. How have they been operating? You know, do we have other departments doing their work? Because we must start from there. Who is doing what? Who is in charge? And once we have brought this out, like what happened, have we seen any arrests or moving into whatever college?
Would you go the NGO council way? What they did, they registered tens of NGOs, and then the following day, everyone had to comply. Do you think that's something?
I mean, we need a drastic action, because what is happening is not fair, both to parents, to the country, and ourselves. So we must, at some stage, where's the Minister of Education in this? We must ask those hard questions. And who answers? Mheshimiwa, would you answer the minister? What happened? You know, we need some level of responsibility where people own up and say, because I saw on the clip the minister was laughing and saying, I'm sad. Is that the way we want to handle problems in our country?
Right.
I mean, we must be a bit difficult.
To even add to that, I think I'm looking at where is the quality assurance of what's happening, even when the policies are there. I think one thing we should do is strengthen, make sure the professional bodies are very strong.
Okay.
Because if they keep getting very shady applications for whether it's the engineers, the valuers, the pharmaceuticals, or whatever, they can check there at that point. And they're able to even write, as the power as being a professional body, they can write to the certain university, we are not certifying your people because of X, Y, Z. So where are the professional bodies?
Yes. And where are the senates of these universities? Because we are talking about public universities. Where are they?
Let Mheshimiwa weigh in.
I liked, when we had the Langata primary, the land grabbing, we saw everybody from the Minister of Interior.
The President himself.
The President himself commented. And I think this is worse than that land grab.
Exactly.
Because this affects the students, it actually affects the future of our young people.
Right.
And I was expecting the minister by now, he should have
Should have
issued
spoken,
a statement.
should have held a statement.
And I was also expecting that quality assurance officials from Ministry of Education should have
Probably
visited
probably
the school.
they doubt us also. They doubt what they saw in that clip.
Well, if they doubt, then they should have gone to the school to find out. The students are on the streets, and you can see this. The young man here, Alexander, doesn't even know what to do. They have no idea what's next.
Okay.
And so,
okay.
Yeah, we need somebody to take responsibility. You ask who the buck stops with? The Minister of Education.
We need some responsibility. We need people to take up the action.
Responsibility.
I mean, we can't just be running.
And do you think, Mercy, before I go to Njoki, do you think, Mercy, the management of this institution should just own up?
Yes, they should. They should also take responsibility where they have failed, particularly when it comes to quality control. And I mean, they should be telling us what they're going to do about this, because all that is not hot air. We have a lot of people who have suffered, and they've just never had the courage to stand up and bring it out.
I'll ask you a question, a direct question. Today, someone pops into your office at Wilson with a certificate from Nairobi Aviation. What are you going to do?
I will be very skeptical. However, for me, it's to mentor the youth. So I'll be curious.
Curious. Let me ask Njoki the same question. What are you going to do?
It happened in a meeting I was in just before I came here. We were discussing sponsoring some students, and one of the students was applying at this particular college.
Would you look at that student differently?
By nature, I just say, hold on, this student is not yet going there till they're given, the school is given a bill of clean, you know, whatever the expression is. So to me, somebody, now that this has come up, somebody needs to go there, inspect them, given the ticks and the crosses, and they're told these are the areas you must get things right, and if there is some criminal offense somewhere, an action is taken, because there must be something they are good at.
And do you think Bwire, the students have been brainwashed from the way they acted? Because the fault clearly is not with the management. Naturally, what I'll do is to jump into the institution and, hey, where is our accreditation? Because I believe those are rights.
I think one of the points he raised is very valid. That at what level are we as students also getting to ask some of these hard questions? I've taught in 4 universities or 5 universities in this country, and one of the things I have been asking students, I mean, most of the universities, they say I'll incite in students or what, but I look at the curriculum, for example, and ask you guys, I mean, do you think, having gone through this thing I've been given by the university, you will have benefited, you will have become a better journalist or whatever it is? I look at something like Introduction to News Writing, simple. And students, first year, second year, they're doing Introduction to News Writing 1, Introduction to News Writing 2, Introduction to News Writing 3. What is this that you are learning in 3 years? You know, and we're asking even the student. I ask like a course like News Writing, and I tell my students, go to the field, get me stories, and I'll help you edit, and we get to National Standard or whoever to publish, we see. You know, and to them, the management tells me that we have been told you rarely come to class, you just send your students. You know, even the thinking. So the students also have a responsibility to ask to question and ask, what is this that we are being taught? How does it relate to the industry? I ask a third-year student, I ask, do you want to do print journalism, PR, or he's not even sure.
Don't know.
Not aware, not sure or not aware.
Don't know.
So that disturbed me a lot, because you must make a decision as you start. So to me, while I'm not holding the students accountable and blaming them, and I can feel it.
The focus is on the lecturers.
But where the management of this institution?
The
Because
professional bodies, Mheshimiwa, LSK, we've seen, they work perfectly. The doctors, for example, they work perfectly. Why is it so different? And dare I say, journalism, apart from the hiccups, they work perfectly. What happened to the other ones? Kimathi, from Kimathi, you know what happened to Kimathi late last year? Yes, engineers.
Yes. I just said, I think somebody is sleeping on their job. Because
where do you drop the ball, Mheshimiwa?
I will still go back to the ministry.
Ministry, okay.
There's somebody who's supposed to go to these schools and actually now also advise the minister. And I think then somebody, or there's money exchanging, so even if I find there's a fault somewhere, I keep quiet.
We'll cover it up.
We cover it up. And, you know, initially when we were in primary school, there were those, the zonal education officers, those people have gone. And there's also a lot of confusion between the Ministry of Education and the TSC, who is doing what, you know, from the, you know, the basic education. And I think we need to go back. I have a child who who is not studying here. And by the time they're in year 8 or class 8, all these high schools, they come in and talk to the students. And I'm also thinking now these professional bodies, they also need to go to where the students are. Even the employers, the so-called employers, we also need to see them going to the primary schools, going to high schools, speaking, you know, for free, motivating these students, telling them what it takes to be in such and such a career, so that then they can even offer scholarship. I know one of the universities that, one of a day school in my county that is doing very well. The students, they don't score very well at primary school, but when they go to high school, they even get A minuses. Yeah. But why? There's this institution that offers them scholarships. They come and mentor them, and by the time they clear Form 4 and they have an A or A minus, they go to their institution, they pay half of the school fees, and they're paid for the rest. And they also look for employment for them, so that then they're able to repay them back. And I think the employers and everybody needs to wake up. I think we need to take responsibility, all of us. Don't just wait in your office for people to be trained and to be brought to you. You need to go.
I know, Njoki, you really want to weigh in, but we're running out of time, and I just want to give you final comments running from Victor.
I see there's a serious problem. Being a regulator, having taught in some of the universities that we are mentioning, there's a serious problem. Having sat on committees that sometimes at my place of work interviews, people for prospective employers, there's a serious problem. I'm seeing people breaking down during interview sessions just because basic things you would expect from somebody. So it's a serious problem that we need to applaud the media for having raised, and we need to pick it up and follow. Let people take action. Those who have more colleges that are doing similar things should bring them forward. There's a responsibility on the part of the media also, simply because they have said it's now February, exams will be coming out, and we'll be running a lot of adverts. What responsibility do we media have when we are running colleges that offer whatever? Do we also need to check with the qualification boards to say that we'll only accept adverts from colleges that have been specific, so that we also help. We have a responsibility to also help Kenyans into knowing that there's a serious problem. Two, I think we need to get to take responsibility. And I've said where Media Council, we noticed that we had failed in some cases, especially, in fact, not local universities. The biggest problem is international. People come there with certificates of some online, and we have taken the trouble. It's a huge expense to us. The accreditation officer has to call London, to call where, to just confirm if this, and it's surprising, it's not genuine.
All right.
In fact,
so you have a mechanism for controlling that,
we are trying
for
that.
Checking.
Obviously, we have withdrawn some of the accreditation once we established that this did not happen, but we need, as a country, to admit that there's a problem that we need to solve. We must solve. Basic things. If somebody has a university in Kakuma, in Kakuma refugee, or Turkana or Lord, a university that's offering engineering, then you need to ask yourself,
what's happening there? For example, training without facilities. I know, Victor, this is a topipic that you will speak on and on.
But we need to support the media. To me, the people who are bashing the media for having, they had to start somewhere. So they started, fortunately or unfortunately, they started with aviation. But I know it's a series of stories coming up on other colleges. We need to support them where we have documents. Let's share.
And by the way, Victor, we have gotten a lot of response after our Okari story rain from institutions, from students who now want their colleges checked, because there's so many satellite colleges. And thank you, Victor. And as you respond, Njoki, think about Ben Maina, who says, I am so much in pain knowing now that my fellow employees who know very well that he's from Nairobi Aviation College will ridicule him and laugh at him because of this.
What did you say his name is?
Ben Maina.
Okay.
Bernard Maina.
Bernard Maina. I think what he should do is, yes, people will ridicule him, people will make fun of him, but if he proves in terms of performance, he's not different from them, or he's even better, then it's him who'll be laughing at them later. That's what I would say. But on a few concluding remarks on this, it's a national problem. It's not just a Kaimenyi problem. It's not just the policymakers' problem. There's that say, I quote, I don't know who, that if everybody swept the front of their house, the world would be clean. If we all went, here we are employers, policymakers, if we all went back to our schools and said, we want to contribute to this, or this is not going right, and we're insisting, and we have a right because we are alumni of this school, that in itself will start solving so many problems. So even as employers, we stop just pointing fingers. We do exactly what you're saying. We insist that we go for, become mentors and coaches and go to career days in these schools. So can we all start by doing that? In Kenya, we are so good at pointing fingers at each other.
And blaming each other.
Also, our Minister of Education, I think if I could address him directly, I would say, don't tell us what is happening, what you are planning to do. Because if you go to hospital, triage, on trauma, whatever, and you've had an accident, they just don't start talking in theory on what they're going to do. Somebody starts cauterizing the wounds immediately. We need a bit of cauterizing. We need a bit of first aid because we're in ICU. So it's a two-pronged strategy. Finally, the parents should take more interest in what's happening to their kids. And the kids also, remember I did talk about intellectual laziness. Rather than pick a stone to hit Dennis, I think I would ask, okay, let me assume Dennis is right to some extent, and the school might also be at fault. Let me also find out from the school. Demand your rights from the school. Dennis said 3, 4 things. Tell us which ones are true and which ones are not. Then, of course, if you're Dennis and NTV has been lying to us as a public, here is Media Council, penalize them. So, and
Well
then
said.
if the school was wrong, Minister of Education,
Should
do something.
Okay, thank you, well said. Mercy, as you respond and give your final comment, think about Pretty Ricky. He says the colleges also need to be re-evaluated. There must be standards. How can someone, for example, with the D, get a course like engineering? I mean, these are faculties that need brains, you know, these are faculties that need a little bit of a better IQ than the rest of us, you know?
Well, for Ricky, I wouldn't want to just brush off someone because he's got a D. We've seen actually people walk through the ladders. You start with a certificate, go to a diploma, and you can actually grow. Sometimes students are not all, gifted. However, there is the cut-off mark. So you just don't come in with a D and you start at a diploma or degree level, but you can still work towards what you want. For me out there, I would want to urge, parents particularly to get very involved with their children, and the professionals. Find time, mentor the students. We all need to take responsibility. There is an African saying that used to say that a child, belongs to the society. We've let that go, and that's why we are having all these things happening. The people in the medical world, visiting schools and encouraging children and students who want to go into that line is going to cut off a lot of this. Like what we are doing in the aviation industry, and we began doing that because we realized that there were a lot of gaps. So you mentor these people, and they know where they're going to and what they want, and they pursue that. And this is not just a job for one person, it's the society as a whole. We need to be responsible, we need to get involved, and I believe we'll make a better world, and we will be able to have youth who will grow into people who can actually think and contribute positively to the community.
All right, and it takes a whole community and society to raise up a child. And Mheshimiwa, finally, as you respond, think of Njoroge Jr.'s comment, as he says that it's a challenge to those other institutions, save for aviation, that has already been put on the spotlight, with tendency of dishing out qualifications. From where you sit?
Well, I guess what we need to do now is the regulators need to take charge, and everybody else. I'm a bit worried when we talk about parents, because we are assuming that all parents maybe have this the kind of education. Looking from my background, if I was to ask my mom or my dad what I was to do, they could not have had any idea. And after Form 4, I was just lost, and I had to find a way. I think my challenge is to the young people: get aggressive, do your research, don't get lazy. Go on the net, talk to your friends, and don't just follow, because my friends are doing this, I also want to do this. Let's do research. And also my biggest challenge is also to the corporates. We are preparing these young people to come and work in your station. Let's start motivating them at a very young age. Let's start interacting with them from primary school. Let us help also our government and also the Ministry of Education. And finally, to the Ministry of Education, I think we should stop with immediate effect any registration of new colleges, so that we first relook and streamline the colleges that we have in the universities. And I think we also need to be very specific. We don't, this issue of a university is offering from diploma to certificate to everything else, you know, there's all this mix up. I think we need to need some, for the institution to get sober.
Okay.
If it's a university, they're offering degrees, then let them allow these colleges so that they also mentor them. Okay. And such that this specific university knows from this college, I get the graduates from the college to come to my institution. And I think then when you have another big brother watching over you, then you're going to have things done right. But right now we even have small colleges that are affiliated with some universities offering even a certificate course. I think we need to go back to how education was run.
Structured right from the beginning.
Yeah, we need to structure education, and we really need to do justice, because as I mentioned earlier, education is only equalizer. If then we don't give the right education to our children, then what is going to happen to this nation in the few years to come? I told you I'm an employer. I'm very worried. Okay. Because even typing, when somebody is applying for a job, the way they actually type that letter, then you're even wondering, then what kind of a job would I offer this kind of a person?
Exactly.
A person is going for an interview in a specific industry, and you ask them a question about that industry, they have no idea. So we really need to help our graduates.
All right.
And then for the lecturers, please just take 1 or 2 jobs. I know we all need to earn money, but we also need to do justice. If we are training out these young people, let us do it diligently. Let us train them without just rushing from one college to another, and at the end of the day, you're not teaching anything.
You're compromising on quality.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And let's go where we started it. And Alex, your final words?
Okay, what I have to say to the all of this country and to my students is, okay, you know there is a competitive world, and we don't know the root of all this. So I strongly believe the far this has come, I know there must have been a root. So whoever, if at all, there is a sort of competition. I mean, competition, I know competition is obvious, but these people should do it fairly. And to my students, to my fellow students, what I have to tell them, it is not yet. I mean, it isn't too late. I strongly believe these are allegations that might, or they might be true, or they might not be true. We don't know anything yet, but as time goes by, time will tell. That's all.
Gero from the Nairobi Aviation College for joining us right from our newsroom. Thanks for coming and sharing with us your story. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Starting with Sabrina Chege, Mheshimiwa, thank you. Mercy Macau, thank you very much. And Njoki, I know you'll come again. Thank you very much. And Victor Bwire, as always, we appreciate you coming. And not forgetting Dennis Okari, who was on Skype. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for coming on Press Press. Until next week, I'm still sitting right here next week on Monday. Thanks for watching and have a good night.